Hello, my friends. Let's have a look on XModel now. So please open the example file XModel.html in your editor and also in your web browser here on the right. Okay, so with XModel, you can influence objects with values. So in the last example, we influenced the value with the value, the value of the HTML element with the value of an object. And now we do it the other way around. So whatever is in this value of the input will influence an object. So let's do this. Let's go to example 1 in our source code. So here we have example 1 and you see we have this section here. So this section we will give some data and I just say xData here within the section and I will have a key that is my input, for example. And as a value, I just give this an empty string with 2 single quotes. All right. Now I go to the input and here I will type XModel and I will connect this to my key, my input. So I write my input in here. Okay. So what happens now is that whenever I type something in here and the value of the input is changed, then immediately my xData will also change. Okay? But how can we do this in a visible way so we can see our changes? Well, we will do this here in our output. Okay? So in the output, I will add xText here, x minus text. Okay, and then I will again do some concatenations. So I will do 2 single quotes, and within those 2 single quotes, I'm gonna write output colon here. And then I will concatenate with the value of the key, my input. Okay, let's copy this. And let's concatenate it here. Let's hit save. And now let's type something in our input. And it doesn't work. So the reason for this is that I made a small mistake up here in xData. Of course, I have an object here and a JavaScript object also always has those curly braces around it. That happens sometimes. I'm sorry about that, but I left this in, this mistake, so you can see it. Okay, let's hit save again. Let's type something here. And now the same text that we write in the input is immediately displayed dynamically on the right. That's really cool. So, of course, if you know Vue.js, this is nothing special to you. But let's say you worked only with jQuery before, then this is a really cool feature, I think. Okay. Now let's do example number 2, where we have 2 inputs. So what I wanna achieve is that whenever I type something in one of those inputs, I can see the same thing in the other input. Okay. So let's go to example 2. And again, we have the section here, which we give some data. So this time I do the curly braces and I say, for example, my value is, let's say, hello, for example. Okay, now let's go to the input, to the first input, and there's no value here yet, so I give it a value attribute, and I bind this value attribute with a colon, like we learned in the last lecture, and here I will output, or here I will set my value. All right. And again, I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Here in the section, instead of X text, of course, it has to be X data. I think I hit the tab key too fast, and then I had the wrong autocomplete. So as you can see here now on the right, we have hello in the input, which is set to the value of my value. Now let's copy this colon value, my value, and also insert it into the second input. Let's hit save, and as you can see, you have hello in both inputs. Okay, now what I want to do is that I do another binding the other way around from the value of the input to the value of the object with the key my value. So what I do is I go behind the input word in the input and I say X model here, and I will connect this to the object my value. Okay, so now if I change something here in the first input, you already can see that it is changed also here on the second input. But if I do a change on the second input, nothing happens yet. But now we're gonna copy this X model here and put it in the second input also, like this, and hit save. And now when we do a change in the second one, it changes in the first one, and then again we change in the first one and it changes in the second one. Okay, let's go to example number 3. So as you can see here, I have this div and this select box here, and they both have a background color of gray. And they have the background color of gray because I gave them both a class of bggray 600 up here and also down there. Okay, what I want to do now is that when I change the select to another color, that as well the color of the div, but also the background color of the select box changes. Okay, so again I have this section here, and I will give this section some data by saying x minus data. Okay, let's put an object here and define my color, and this will be gray. Okay, now down here where it says div class bggray 600, there I do this concatenation thing again. So I put single quotes around bg minus, so single quote here, single quote there, then comes a plus, and then after the gray comes another plus, and then also this minus 600 I will put into single quotes. And now I will replace this gray here in the middle with my color. Now, as you can see, the background color completely disappeared, and the reason for this is that we still have to bind this class attribute to xData. So we just add a colon here and hit save again. And now it is gray again. So if we write for example, red in here now, we have a red background color. But let's go back to gray. So now I want to change the select here, and when I change it, I want to set the background color of this div to green, blue or red dynamically. So here I already have those three options with green, blue and red. So as you might know, I don't need a value here in the option if I really want to use this here as a value, okay? So I don't need the value attribute here. So let's now set the my color here to the value of the option that is selected. So what we will do, we go into the select after the word select and we say xModel is my color, like this. Let's save. Now let's change the color here. Let's go to green and the div is green, blue or red. And if we go to select color, it is again gray. And what I did here in the first option, I set a value of gray here manually. All right. Now I want to change the background color of this select box as well. Now here in the select, I have the class of BG Gray600 here, but I also have a bunch of other classes here already. So what I could do is that I work with a lot of concatenation here again, but I want to show you a little different variant how you could do this. So what I will do is that I will cut out all the other classes that have nothing to do with the color. So I mark all those classes here and I say Command X to cut that out. Now I go up here in my section with my X data and I will make another attribute here in my X data. And I will call this, for example, select classes. Don't forget the comma here after the my color is gray. So I go here in the next line and I will introduce another attribute. I call this select classes here and two single quotes, and in those two single quotes I'm gonna paste the classes that I cut out, okay? And I also will add a space before this H full here, okay? Like this. So now let's go down to the select box. As you can see, it looks different now because all the classes are gone. All right, but we will fix this in a second. So here I will bind the class again with a colon, and then here where it says the BG Gray600, I will copy this thing here with the concatenation from before from our div. So I will copy this guy here. Okay, and I will put it in here. All right, I hit save. Let's change the color to green. And it is already green, but still the other formatting classes for the select box are not there. So again, I will do another concatenation here after the -600. So I say plus again, and then I will insert this second attribute from my object, which are the default select classes. So I will copy this key here and insert it in here. Let's save. And now my select box has the proper styling again. So let's change the color again. So now both are green, blue, or red. Okay, that's it for this lecture, guys. In the next lecture, I will show you how you can show or hide elements on your HTML page with Alpine.js. So this is maybe very interesting for those guys of you who are used to work with jQuery. Because in jQuery, one of the things that you do the most, or at least that I do the most often, is to show or hide buttons or any other elements on my web page. All right? So I'm looking forward to see you there. Bye-bye. Just one last thing, in case you get a very bad impression of Tailwind CSS now, because you see all those classes that are necessary to style a select box. Well, we didn't do a proper setup of Tailwind CSS. What I did here, if you scroll to the top of the document, I just included here a Tailwind CSS with a simple link, so I don't have the proper possibilities of Tailwind CSS available, so that's why I have to write all those classes. If you use Tailwind CSS in a professional way, you don't need so many classes in your HTML. If you're interested in that, please check out my Tailwind CSS course here on Udemy. Okay, so again, see you in the next lecture. Bye bye.